Good morning, YouTube. This is Danny Basula of TheSonicDucks. He's going to be presenting to you a Mermail deck profile. Make sure to check out the description if you don't catch everything he says, because it'll be typed out for you all conveniently.
Okay, for the monsters, I am running one Abyssleed. I was thinking about taking this out a while back, just because I didn't know if he'd really be that useful. But his just ability to just take a card out of your opponent's hand has just been really good, and I've actually been able to make this go off a few times. So it's, in my opinion, I think it's definitely a keeper. And 27 body is actually really big. Then I run 2 Megalos. You could easily run this at 3 if you really wanted to. You only need to. Like last night, I played at least 8 games online, and every single time I was able to OTK just because I was able to just make 2 of these. So all you really need is 2. But you could totally run 3 if you so chose to. And then for last of the 7s, I am running 3 Abyssteus. I think I'm a very strong advocate of you running at least 3 of these, because you can special summon. He's a free special summon and then a free search the first time. And then you can use him to make it just another 7. And 17 body actually isn't that bad, and 24 defense is pretty decent in my opinion. And just because he's a decent water monster and a free discard, I think that's good enough reason to keep him in the deck for sure. And then for the others, I am running 3 Abyssgunde. I'm a very strong advocate of you running 3 of this, just because it's crucial to your OTKs. You search her out with your pike, and then you discard her for a search, or you could search her out, and you can search her out with Teus. So she's a decent search, as well as pretty crucial to your OTKs. I can understand why people are running at least 2, because it is kind of cloggy, but I've never minded this actually being in my hand. And then I'm only running 2 Lins. I cannot see myself taking this out or any lower than this, just because she's a very nice contingency plan, just in case your boards get cleared and you need something as a defense. I don't mind actually really discarding her. I can understand why people are running less, because you don't want to see it in your hand. And there have been times when I have seen 2 of these in hands, but if you're winning that turn, it really doesn't even matter. But it's fine if you want to run less, but I am a strong advocate of at least 2. And I'm also a strong advocate of 2 pikes. I was running this at 3, but I did see it too much, especially when I didn't want it. And also there's only really 2 good search targets, which are basically Gund and your Marksman. But even then, I still think basically Gund into Pike is still a very good play in my opinion, and you still get just a plus off that, and it's another monster that allows you to go into your rank 4 plays. And that's it for the Mermail aspect of the monsters. Now for the Atlanteans. I went ahead, caved in, and maxed out on all of them. I am playing 2 Dragoons. You can only play 2, unfortunately, but this is your main abusive search. This search is for all your main boss monsters that are sea serpents. Basically, this will be searching out your Moulanglacia as well as your 2 Megalos and all of your sea serpents if you so choose. If you open up with one of these and a Teus, that's basically just a free Neptabyss right there. And I think that's just very, very good, in my opinion. Now, Neptabyss, which is the star of the deck, in my opinion. This card is just super, super good. Basically, if you don't know what it does, basically, you send an Atlantean from your deck to the graveyard, and then you get to search an Atlantean. So basically, you'll be sending Dragoons to basically search with Dragoons, or any of your other Atlanteans if you so need, because you might open up with another Dragoon. But if you don't, then there you go, it's just free cards, and then that Dragoon is going to give you a Megalo, and then you can just kind of go from there. It's super good, and just the fact that you tribute it off for a Megalo, and then you bring out another one, and then you contribute that Dragoon with another Megalo to go for another search. That alone is really, really nice, and it's just kind of a staple at 3. And then I have maxed out on Marksman. I was kind of skeptical of this being good in the near future, because I didn't think back row was actually going to be that prevalent. But it actually has been pretty decent to run many of these, just because not only can he create OTKs on his own, as well as searching you a Neptabyss if you don't have one, once you get a direct attack off with him, but also just clearing those numerous back rows that can be kind of annoying has been proven to be very useful, and I've loved it. He was already kind of one of my favorites anyway next to Dragoons. And then 3 heavy infantry. I was skeptical of this even staying in the deck, because I didn't think targeting monsters would be even really a thing. But just the fact of being able to clear your opponent's boards just off of these alone is very good. And there's the fact that they're searchers. And there's another discard target. But that's the end of the Atlantean portion. For the extras, I do play one diva. We only have her at 1, unfortunately. The OCG has her at 3, and that's why I can see the OCG playing almost just pure Atlanteans. But since we only have her at 1, I would say keep her at just run the Mermails as well. But if she goes to more than 1, you would obviously want to play more, because it is a free Neptabyss. And then I do play one Moulanglacia. This card is really insane. Basically, you can drop this almost every duel to basically take 2 cards out of your opponent's hand. It's searchable. If you open Neptabyss, you'll most likely be dropping this on your opponent. At a locals in El Reno earlier this month, I dropped this almost every game of my opponent, and it's fantastic. And then I have been playing a Gorz. Basically, one Gorz has been proven to be quite useful. I was kind of skeptical of other hand traps, but he's pretty decent, especially whenever you have him in your hand, and then just you have nothing to kind of really block your opponent's attacks, and it's actually pretty good, and I liked it. I'm not very advocate of any other really hand traps. I'm not a giant fan of Max C, but definitely if you want to play it, you can, but I prefer just the Gorz. That's it for the monsters. I am playing one Raigeki. Just being able to clear your opponent's boards is just very, very nice in my opinion. Like, this will almost guarantee your OTKs if you just get it off to resolve. 1 for 1 is basically a free Neptabyss. Just that's not much to say really about it. It's just it brings out Neptabyss as quick as possible. I wish I could play more, but you can only really play 1. And then one Salvage, you could get away with running 2 of these if you really wanted to. Just the ability to recycle all your Atlanteans is just very, very nice. And I have used this quite a few times, but never more than once a game. So I would say, yeah, I'm an advocate of 1, but if you wanted to run 2, you really could. And there's nothing wrong with that. And then I'm running 1 Abyss-scale of Mizuchi, 1 Mizuchi, and 1 Abyss-scale of the Cetas. Basically, this one stops traps, and this one stops spells. And they're continuous effects that basically negate as they're resolving. And that basically, and since they're continuous effects, these allow you to stop cards as they activate mandatorily. So this one will stop counter traps, and this is a good defense against Solemn Strike if your opponent hasn't done that on you already. And so I just don't want to die from back row, so this card is really good. And if you can get 2 of these on board attached to both your Megalos, 2 Megalos alone is game, but then being able to search at least 1 of these and attach it to a Megalo is just super, super good, and I love them both. Then I'm a strong advocate of 3 Instant Fusion. You don't really care if you see this multiple times a game, but just being able to make the Dweller play so much more and so much more consistent to see, in my opinion, is very, very good. And then I have gone back to running 3 Upstart Goblins because I want to thin the deck as fast as possible. In my opinion, it's good. I do love Upstart Goblin, and I'm a pretty good advocate of it. And then for the small trap lineup, I am running only 2 spheres. I would say don't go past the limit of your lens. If you're going to play, like you can if you really want to, play 3 of this, but I would say at least 2. I'm a very strong advocate of 2, 2, and 2. So this is a very good contingency plan to just protect you and make sure you don't die from your opponent from getting a free attack on you. You don't die from Cosmo with it, and that's what I really, really like. That's it for the entire main deck. For the extra deck, I do have 1 Blue Eyes Dragon, just to match the play mat. His favorite card ever. And then I'm playing 2 Nordens. I am playing 3 Instant Fusion, but I only need 2 Nordens. More likely than not, you won't even be needing more than 2, if anything more than 1. But this basically is just so, so good in the deck because it brings back your Dragoons from the graveyard and makes Dweller. Or 101. 101 is very prevalent in this deck, and I use it a lot. That's it for the fusions. For the Synchros, 1 Leo, because you can basically make 10s with this, with Diva, Neptabyss, and one of your 7s. And it's just really strong. Just being able to, I've made this a couple of times, and it's very strong. 1 Trishula, AJ of TheSonicDucks has let me borrow this, just because I don't have one yet of my own. But basically, just being able to drop Trishula on your opponent could possibly win you a game on its own. And Abyss Dweller is going to give it a boost if he's on the billboard as well. So I like him a lot. 1 Black Rose Dragon. I really, really like Black Rose Dragon. Just non-targeting destruction is very, very nice. I did have Moonlight Dragon in here, but I just think this one's a little bit better just because it can clear the whole board. I love both, but this one is just kind of my favorite right now. And then 1 Dewlorian, Tiger King and the Ice Barrier, just being able to recycle your spheres or just any of your monsters on board to make this guy really, really big is really, really nice. I haven't seen it too often, but the times I have, it has been excellent. A couple other synchros I'm going to consider in the near future is Tatsunoko, and then because of that, I'm going to consider Star Eater to get Moulanglacia out of your hand, because Tatsunoko can use monsters from your hand as synchro materials, so it can make, you know, that Moulanglacia in your hand not as dead as it would be, because he does have his moments where he is dead in the hand, and that's kind of sad. But not for the extra deck, not for this XYZs. I am playing 3 7s. I play 1 Gaios, basically preventing your opponents from attacking or just negating effects in general is really, really strong, and I think it's really, really good. Flare Metal Dragon, I'm borrowing this one from AJ as well because I don't have one of my own. This card is just awesome. Like, against Cosmo, this is kind of a GG on its own, being able to not only not be destroyed by card effects, so it can't be killed that way by the Dark Destroyer, but also it just, anytime they activate an effect, they're taking burn damage. So it's really, really good. And then I still play Dracossack. I really like Dracossack as not only a wall of protection, but also just the ability to just get rid of problems. You could run Big Eye if you so chose, and I like Big Eye, but I really just like Dracossack as well, just for more protection aspect. And then for the rank 4s, I do run 1 Castel, gets rid of problems, 1 Dweller. I make this more than any of the other XYZs in my entire deck, because not only does it give a boost, but it also prevents graveyard's effect in the graveyard from happening, and that's what I really, really like, and I think this deck is really, really benefited from. And then 1 Honor Arc as well, because not only is it a water monster to trigger off your Dragoons for, but also just as another removal for problem cards. 1 Direwolf. I've always kind of liked Direwolf. I've never really been able to use him, you know, in the past, but like I've always liked Direwolf, and I've kind of ran him in almost everything in addition to like 101, and he's just another removal of problems, and I like it a lot. Steelswarm Roach. Steelswarm Roach is really, really good still, in my opinion. You could choose to not run it if you want to, but I think against Pendulums, I think it's still going to be kind of valuable, as well as against Cosmo, especially because I always fear the Cosmo matchup against this deck, and the Cleafor matchup too. And then 1 Gaga Cowboy, basically burn for game. And that's the entire extra deck. I really like the deck because I've always kind of liked the deck just based on its speed, its image, as well as how aggressive and powerful the deck is. Just the only problem I haven't been able to play it until recently is just because the deck was really expensive at a time, and I couldn't really afford it. You know, Megalos being at $70 a piece, and maybe even like fluctuated in between there. So I haven't really been able to play the deck until recent times, and once I saw that Neptabyss was a thing, I felt that I had to just pick up the deck as soon as possible, because the deck was cheap at a time, and it still is pretty cheap, still pretty budgety, but some of the cards did rise up in price a little bit, but it's still pretty budget friendly, and it's a budget friendly deck that is a very good competitor for the top tier spots right now. Okay, so for the monsters, I am running 1 Abyssleed. I was thinking about taking this out a while back, but